Hello and welcome back to another student interview with me today. I've got Mr. Ryan Rogers. Ryan, thank you so much, man, for being here. I'm excited to share your story.
Well, I really appreciate it, Brandon. Thanks a lot.
You got it. You got it. So what I want to do, Ryan, kind of walk people through what life was like. You and I have had some of the same coaches before you and I started working together. Walk through what that was like, what your approach was like, what your mindset was like as you are growing your real estate business, and what things are like now that you and I are working together, and maybe some of the things that have changed for you, both from a mindset, belief, and some of the results. And we'll get to that at the end as well. So what market are you in?
Well, see, I'm a real estate agent in New Orleans, Louisiana. That encompasses, a pretty decent part. We say New Orleans, but it's also Metairie and Chalmette and the West Bank. And it's we've got about a little under a million. It's a million people in this market, so it's not huge, and but yeah, it's a fun market to be in. It's definitely unique.
Awesome. How long have you been selling real estate?
So I got started in 2016.
Yes.
But I really wouldn't say that I was a real estate agent or a realtor until probably 2018. I was working as a server. I was working in the service industry for many years, and I had a little saved up. And when I got into real estate, I had very vague notions of what to expect. So I thought I could do both, but soon realized that if you were going to be successful in this business, you had to take a leap of faith and bet on yourself. So I quit the restaurant, and that was about the beginning of 2018.
Awesome. So walk us through, I'm curious, kind of what were things like your first year or two? What were some of the struggles? I know you were with, Tom Ferry coaching. I want to understand what your approach was and how things were when you first got started.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I definitely feel like a lot of people are very, vague or have a vague idea of what real estate is. And I was definitely in that same position. So it's like when you get your license, you show up your first day at your broker's office and you think that you're going to get like a ride along and you're going to get this hands-on training. And I don't want to throw my first broker under the bus because they definitely showed us how to write a contract and run a CMA. But, I soon found out that every other agent in the office saw me as competition. So I was really going to have to figure this out on my own. So it was at that point that I joined my first coaching program. That was Joshua Smith. And, that kind of lit a fire, behind me. So that was actually pushed me to get out of the restaurant business and go in. I mean, I realized that over the course of a couple of months that I'd thrown away $30,000 in business because I just couldn't make the appointments because I had to work at the restaurant. So I took that leap of faith. I had saved up enough. I luckily had a couple of good closings that were able to give me a little bit of a safety net, but I was still scared to death, going out there. But that fear is what kind of helped me, push me along. That coaching program, it got me started, but it didn't really click. So I started buying a bunch of leads. Every shiny object out there that was going to be the saving grace is what I purchased on. I spent a lot of money on Zillow and Realtor.com and Yelp. But I was running around and wasting a lot of time with buyers. So that wasn't working too well. So then I joined my second coaching program with Tom Ferry, and I drank the Kool-Aid. I mean, I went to the Sales Edge seminars. I was in those big, event halls, and I definitely got positive energy from that. It definitely changed my mindset, and I started reading a lot more about strategy and negotiations and all those books. And then I actually did build some pretty decent scripts, but they didn't really fit my personality. I felt that those deals or those interactions with potential clients they didn't click. They weren't organic. And then fast forward like a year and a half later, I'm doing fine. I'm comfortable with my GCI. But when coronavirus hit, I lost all of my buyers because of uncertainty, and my pipeline ran completely dry. I had a couple of listings on the back burner that were waiting for some certainty there, but I realized that I needed to rethink my business because 80% of my business was buyers, and there just weren't any. So I really needed to kind of rethink something. I started to reread Gary Keller's book Shift, and and I had seen a few of your videos, and you spoke a language that I felt was very genuine and realistic. You sounded like you were real certain, and you didn't sound cocky. So I even pulled one of your scripts from one of your YouTube channels about getting a for sale by owner, and I actually got an appointment, but it all fell apart at the face-to-face because I just didn't have the systems in place there. So I said, let me see what this guy has to offer. If he really can show me how to close 100 homes in a year without paying a fortune to Zillow or another big giant coaching program, then maybe I can do this. And so here we are. I set 12 appointments my first week in your program, and they were appointments with actual interested sellers, and that really got me pumped up.
Cool. So we're gonna unpack all of that in a second. So that's really, really exciting stuff. What kind of GCI were you doing when you were working with buyers, and what were some of the sources of business when you were generating some buyer business and things were going well before the whole COVID-19 thing hit?
So I was getting a lot of business through Realtor.com and Zillow leads, and really, I had changed brokerages. I think I didn't add that into my story. I changed brokers. I started working with a friend of mine who essentially, gave me like carte blanche. I really, could be exactly who I wanted to be. My previous broker, we had some restrictions on the type of strategies that Joshua Smith was trying to implement, and they just kind of felt like maybe that wasn't the image that the brokerage wanted. So I had some conflict with that, and I was also paying 40% of my commission to the brokerage for the leads that they were getting through Boomtown. And I was spending a lot of my own money on Realtor.com leads, and I felt like I could manage that. That made a lot more sense to me. Spend that $12,000 a year, and my return on those Realtor.com leads in some instances was 6-1. So when I was coaching with Tom Ferry, he told me, well, let's double down on that strategy. But really, anytime you're dealing with internet leads and you're dealing with buyers, you're burning around. So my GCI has fluctuated, between I think 120, 160 is where I'm usually at. And now, because I'm not paying such an exorbitant amount to brokerage for leads, I have 100% of a lot of mine after I kind of knock out my cap with my broker, which just sort of covers her cost on having me and our website cost. But everything else, all my marketing is 100% on me. But yeah, working with buyers, it's very stressful. Very, very stressful. You can waste a lot of time.
Big time. So you were doing some Zillow, some Realtor.com. You were doing some Google pay-per-click stuff with Boomtown. What would you say about those before we shift? I'm just kind of curious. When it comes to buyer internet leads, would you say Realtor.com was your number one, or do you think the Boomtown stuff? Like, give me the mixture of how you think things convert.
Yeah, I think Zillow is some of the worst leads. There's a lot of looky-loos in Zillow, and like people that wouldn't even show up to showing appointments. I would usually do like a first face-to-face at a property and try to get a buyer consultation out of it, and most people would just kind of, not be interested in that. Realtor.com, to me, for buyer leads, were some of the best leads, but you're still having to fight for those leads with 3 or 4 other agents whoever's going to make that call first, and really, it is like you got to be seconds on the phone with those leads in order to convert them. But the thing is like, I was converting pretty decently with those, but like, now I feel it's even easier to convert with those leads with this whole generosity and reverse selling approach now. But I would definitely say that Realtor.com leads were better. In my best year, I was converting 6-1, on my Realtor.com leads, whereas Zillow was probably 1-1.
Yeah. Did you get anything from the Boomtown leads from your old brokerage? Did you convert those at all?
Yeah, but and I converted actually a bunch of those, and most of them were just like leads that I had to stick with for 2 years. I mean, internet leads and buyers are it's a long game. So as long as you can run them to you drips and you're continuing to show properties and you are the one following up, because they're definitely getting hit up by 3 or 4 other realtors who are sending them the same MLS emails. So if you're able to stay on top of them and show some value, and they're able to listen to you and go through the process and do the steps correctly, then they are beneficial. But yeah, Realtor.com was best. Boomtown was was good. But I mean, I only had Boomtown when I was with my first brokerage, and I was paying so much for those leads, 40% on top of my, extra 5% after I made my cap. So really the amount of money just wasn't realistic,
Yeah. So, all right. So everything, so now you and I meet, I want to kind of unpack this, because what you just said a second ago too was, after you learn how to become your skills to become a listing agent, converting buyer leads is like super simple now. But what did you see? What did you hear? What made you want to work with me? What was it about that process that made you say, you know what, this is the guy I want to work with?
Well, I felt like I watched a bunch of the videos, and you're always shopping for some other angle as a person in sales, to give you an edge. And I think mainly, it was that you didn't sound like, the Mike Ferry, the Tom Ferrys, the Joshua Smiths, all these other bigger coaches out there that, to me just sounded like a little bit forced, and everything was a hard close. It's an ABC, program, where I felt like yours was more honest. You were realistic. You set the right expectations, and you set honest expectations. And, you personally answered the questions that we have. I mean, I think that was kind of most important, is just the genuine aspect of your personality on there. And, the fact that the script that I got from you on YouTube, that was able to knock me out with an appointment, without going through your coaching program, spoke volumes.
Awesome. So now that you're working together with me, what's different? I mean, let's start with the mindset, and then we'll start to get to some tactics and strategies, and then we'll talk about some results. So from a mindset perspective, what was it like before? What's shifted now?
Well, it's the mindset that is teaching you to focus. I know it sounds obvious to a lot of people, or maybe it sounds obvious to a lot of people, but you need to specialize and focus on one thing, and I think that saying, don't click the shiny objects. Don't, as realtors, we're marketed to every single day, just pay $100 a year for this, $100 a year for that, and they all add up. But you need to kind of stick to your plan. And I think, focus was the most important that I've gotten from your program. And it's more than just good scripts. I mean, honestly, anybody can regurgitate a script, but it is a lot more to do with the mindset, and that's influenced, parts that are even outside of real estate, and are in turn changing the way that I speak to, people, clients, leads, friends, family. It's a lot different. It's a lot more confidence, I think, and living that confidence. I mean, I know that affirmations are a thing that a lot of people think are goofy, but I mean, they really, really work. And I think it's the mindset that's keeping you focused, and actually being able to see the end result, working backwards from success,
I totally agree. And you're right. I think people totally underestimate mindset, because it's talked about so much that people almost like, oh yeah, I get the mindset stuff. Like, okay, give me the tactics, right? And so they don't understand. That's why we spend so much time on the mindset and how to create this new mindset, this new worldview, this new belief system inside of ourselves to go out there and achieve and accomplish and do what our old self could never do, right? And so that's really, really important. Now let's talk about your approach, tactics, and strategies, because you were taught to do a lot of things in the past. What's changed for you that's allowing you to go out there and become a listing agent? Well,
I can say that with the last couple of coaching programs, I mean, everybody is teaching prospecting. Prospecting works, right? But having the right words, and I swear, we were on that call yesterday, and we were going over the ARPing, which is just never ever heard that from anybody. I mean, honestly, I think that you should start teaching politics, or some kind of political analyst stuff, because I feel like I could easily go into politics with just that strategy of being able to be on their side, and then show some value, and then immediately pivot to a question that still kind of keeps you in the game, and it's always positive, and it's literally coming from a place of being a consultant rather than being a sleazy salesperson.
That's right.
So having that, and I mean, look, I have every single coaching program has you rework your marketing materials, right? And they say go and use ours. Yours are sharp. I love them. I took those and I made them my own. So having that, and I have people all the time who are like, wow, this is some really, really, really sharp stuff. So having that adds to the confidence, right? And then being able to know exactly the mindset to be in, to be able to not overcome these objections, but sort of guide the person, because you want to help them, right? You want to help them, and you can help them when you've got that confidence to know that they're better off using you so that you can help them accomplish their goals. It's just a lot easier. So it's more than just scripts. I mean, I think I've probably gotten away from the question, but
No, you're spot on. You're spot on. I mean, what you're talking about is what we teach. We call it reverse selling. We're using the Socratic method that Socrates came up with to get out of trying to convince people, because that's what drove me nuts, Ryan, was what everyone's teaching. The thing that's hard for people to articulate, like, man, you teach a different way. What we're talking about is what we've all been taught in sales is, how do I convince this person who believes this? I'm trying to get them to believe this. That's why you told me the politics thing. That's why I get asked to be in politics almost every week. That's why I smiled. I get approached all the time because in politics, these people are doing it wrong. They're trying to convince. And what we use is the Socratic method to ask a line of questioning to help people come up with their own ideas as you're guiding them as a consultant. And then they get to this big idea, and guess who was there to guide them? It was you, it was me. And so that's what forms this human connection to inspire people to want to work with you. There is no convincing at all. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not trying to pull the wool over their eyes, not trying to bait and switch them. Like, here is the plan, and I can help you get there. And it's almost like a when you're ready kind of thing, but just showing value all the time and coming from a place of generosity.
That's right.
More so than than trying to prove them that they're wrong.
That's right.
Which I mean, the coaching program is close them now, and go over the stats, But no, this is definitely different than that, and it's definitely beneficial.
Good. So now let's talk about what's from a results standpoint. You went from working with buyers, chasing them around. You've learned this new skill set, this new mindset, this new approach. What do things look like now for you? Are you able to go on a lot more listing opportunities, able to take listings? What does that look like now for you?
Yeah, I would say that, within the first week of running through your program, and I just tried to gulp it down as quickly as I could, just because of the situation I was in. I mean, I had some savings to kind of hold me through this crisis, but I definitely needed to rework my business. So I was going to do it as much and as quickly as I could. But in the first few days of running your system and just being consistent, because that's the main thing. Is like nobody ever does things consistently. Doing things consistently, doing the prospecting every single morning, and in the afternoon, if I didn't have an appointment, I set more listing appointments or more preview appointments than I had in that 1 week than I had in the previous year.
Wow.
with sellers. I'd done expireds, which is very, very difficult because you're in heavy competition there. And I had gotten listing appointments that way. But as far as focusing on for sale by owners and running that strategy, and this strategy doesn't necessarily just work for sale by owners. It works for every seller.
That's right.
So it opens up that door. Well, I was able to knock out 12 preview appointments in that first week in the program within a couple of days. I was overwhelmed. I couldn't set any more appointments.
Yeah.
So I had more than I could actually handle. But it got me into a system of running those comps on all of those properties every single day, getting more tuned to those markets and getting more confident in being able to explain and talk real estate to those people. And yeah, I pulled two for sale by owner listings within the first 2 weeks of being in the program. And now I've got 3 active listings. I've got 7 active contracts. I got 2 for sale by owner listings that are coming up within the next 2 weeks once we get them ready. So yeah, it definitely has changed a lot, and it was like right off the bat, but from just following the steps, the paint by numbers program,
Yeah, and now you're going through a different pain. Now that you've got a system and you're generating so much business, the next phase always, which you're in the right phase, is, okay, now I've got all this business. How do I manage all this business? Now we're talking about hiring an assistant in your business and all these other conversations, which is I'll tell you again, Ryan, that's when you know you're on the right track. A lot of agents want to get there, but they can't because they don't have the business part figured out, the lead generation piece figured out. So kudos to you. You're in the right pain, in the right place, because you've got to figure out, okay, this is the next phase of my business. Because after that phase, then we're going to talk about phasing you out of the buyers completely. So what is next for you? As we end this, I love everything you've shared. I think a lot of people get a lot out of this, but what do you see for yourself over the next couple of years in this business?
I would like to be one of the premier agents in my market. Right now I'm in the top 10% of agents, which I don't think is that difficult to do because, it's the 80-20 rule. But I would like to be, getting 4 listings a month consistently. And I'd love to build a team because I'd definitely not like to be bogged down by buyers. And most importantly, I just would like to be seen in my market as a professional and a decent human being. So, I don't know if there's a sales or GCI goal. Obviously more is better, but it's a work-life balance. But I would definitely like to be able to have a team that is seen as a fixture in my market.
That's really, really cool. And I think that although you've got a lot going on now, you nailed it. The more consistent you can be, the better foundation you can build, the more opportunities you will give other people. Because if you go hire an assistant and a buyer's agent, they're depending on that consistency from Ryan Rogers to build that foundation, to build that team. And so the more of an example that you're becoming, the more of a leader that you're becoming, the more people you will attract to want to work on your team. And there's no doubt, Ryan, that you will be a permanent fixture, whatever you call yourself in the future, Ryan Rogers team or whatever it's called. I'm certain that will be your future. And so I want to thank you for taking time to pour back into the real estate agent community, because a lot of people get a lot out of these. There's a lot of realtors in pain, Ryan, as you know, that are like, how do I do this business? I love this business, but I'm struggling. And these interviews really, really help to inspire people to take action. So thank you so much for doing this today.
Well, and I greatly appreciate it from you. And is anything that I can do to give back to what you've given to me, I'm there.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm sure I'll see you soon, like I always do every week. Have an awesome, awesome week. Have a great 4th of July, and we'll talk to you soon, all right?
Love it. Thanks. You too.
All right.